Welcome back to the Graham Stephan Show. So you know the saying that what goes up must come down? Well, I think it also works sometimes in reverse. What goes down must also eventually come back up. And that's what brings us to this video here. From CNBC, it's titled, Why Getting a Job Feels Impossible Right Now. So with that said, I want to talk about it as soon as you hit the like button and subscribe because it helps out the channel tremendously. And as a thank you for doing that, I'll answer as many comments as I can. So with that said, thanks so much. Now let's begin.
On paper, the job market now looks solid. Unemployment hit a 54-year low at 3.4% back in January of 2023. The January jobs report also showed the 2024 labor market was off to a solid start.
Here's the thing with some of this data though, I just gotta say, it's highly skewed. Like sometimes they'll say, oh, look how many jobs the economy brought in. 300,000 new jobs. And you're like, wow, it's a lot of new jobs, until you realize that, wait a second, a lot of these jobs are people taking on second jobs because they're not making enough money from the first. And it's deceiving. So, take a lot of this with a grain of salt, and usually you have to dig a little bit deeper to get to the truth. But we'll continue.
Politicians just talking about how the economy is so great. I just want to scream from the rooftops. And how come no one can find a job?
Recently, unemployed full-time workers applied to an average of 30 jobs, only to receive an average of 4 callbacks or responses.
Yeah, the issue right now is that not a lot of companies are hiring. And I know we're creating a lot of jobs, but they're in an environment right now where interest rates are expensive. It's going to cost the company a lot of money to expand. And they're taking it on from the viewpoint of just being a bit more conservative, keeping on to the people that they have, not spending more money than they absolutely need to. And that's translating into fewer jobs. Like a lot of tech companies overhired a ton in 2020, 2021, and in 2022 things started to putter out. And then now you're seeing all these mass layoffs from some of the biggest companies out there because they've overhired. Their expenses are too high, they're taking a hit, and they're cutting back as needed. So that's what, from my perspective, I've just seen happen.
Hi, my name's Jenna Jackson. This job market is like the craziest that I have ever seen. I was frustrated just with how my job search process has been going.
That's the thing now. This is making TikToks about you not finding a job, you getting fired, you not liking your job. These things are just going viral. And I get it. Obviously, there's a lot of frustration that people are just latching onto. But I've seen so many videos of what appears to be Gen Z in a parking lot, outside of their place of employment, and them just saying, it's horrible. And the cost of living is rising, my pay sucks, and, this shouldn't have to be like this. And then those videos are getting millions by millions of views. I wonder if those people could capitalize on all the momentum that they're getting. The thing is, though, if a future employer sees that, is that a red flag? Would you hire someone who goes on TikTok complaining about their job at their next job? You'd always wonder about that in the back of your mind, of like, okay, is this person I hire going to talk about me as well? And most likely, yes. So, it's the same thing with people who go and trash talk people. You know that if they're trash talking people to you, they're probably trash talking you behind your back to other people. So I think it kind of goes both ways.
55% of unemployed adults said they were burnt out from searching for a new job. Younger generations were impacted the most, with 66% complaining of burnout stemming from job search.
I'd also be curious about job expectations. If maybe they're aiming too high, or they've just graduated and they're looking for, too prestigious of a career, just starting out. I don't know. I've not been in the job market practically ever. Almost everything that I've done has somehow just organically happened and not really looked for it per se. So I don't know. I would love for you guys to chime in if it is like an expectation thing, or if it's you're holding out for a career that you think pays more, is a better fit. I'm just curious what it is.
If you just applied to a job through a job board, the odds of you getting hired were about 3%. So you got to apply to a lot of different jobs in order to have a chance to get them. And you're going to get lots and lots of just no responses. And it's exhausting if you do that.
See, sometimes I wonder, instead of just applying for a job and seeing who picks you, what if you go and specifically apply to the jobs at places that you want to work? So let's just say, hypothetically, you're really into, I don't know, I'm throwing out careers out there, accounting. You're really into accounting, that's your thing. Instead of going and posting a job opening and saying, hey guys, I'm an accountant, come hire me. What if you approach the businesses that you love and you say, hey, I just want to work for you. I'll do anything to get my foot in the door. Let me know. And that way you aren't necessarily competing with all these other people, but you're putting your foot in the door and you're at least making yourself known that like, hey, if you need someone like me, I'm willing to work. I'm willing to put my neck out there. I'm willing to give it what it takes. And, if they have something come up, I think they would be much more likely to look at that individual than say, oh, we have this person here who's been hounding us for a while, but let's place a job search and they could just apply. Again, this might be a kind of crazy way of thinking, but I believe approaching specific companies might yield a better result.
Mentions of applicants being ghosted by their prospective employers grew substantially since before the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's easy to put up a job, and so many people can see that job. So when you get such an overwhelming response, it's often very difficult to get back to every single solitary candidate.
Kind of reminds me of the Tinder of finding a job, where you're just basically swiping at candidates. And it's something like, very few % of men match with a woman, but many women match with men. So it could be one of those things of just, it's the equivalent for trying to find a job. It's like, hey, if you apply out there, you're just hoping someone's going to swipe right on you. That would be interesting, by the way, a Tinder for jobs. Of just going and being like, hey, I need, a roofer. And you're just like swiping left and right based on like reviews and stuff. That would be interesting.
Certainly during the Great Resignation, when the market was at a fever pitch, companies were being ghosted by candidates, which is something that hadn't happened as much in the past. So we've seen it happen on both sides of the fence. And I think a lot of it is caused by just sheer volume.
Yeah, remember when McDonald's was paying people to interview? I think it was like $50 or $200 or like $100 just to apply, just to sit there for an interview because they were so desperate to find workers. But it goes to show you the tables always turn. It's always going to be, one side or the other, and then things balance out. So the good times usually aren't going to last forever.
My worst experience so far was with a large financial institution where I had a phone screen with them, and I also had a Zoom interview with one of the team members. After that, I had a case study.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that if there's so many candidates and everyone is vying for the thing, the company's going to want to pick their top, like the best of the best of the best. So even if you have like 100 candidates and one person gets a job, it's a 1% chance of getting that. So of course they're going to make it as hard as possible to whittle it down to just the people who like really have to jump through hoops to be there.
A lot of employers think that doing more interviews is a good thing. And it's not a good thing. Most job interviews are not doing anything important. They don't know that the questions they're asking are going to reveal anything about whether you're a good candidate or not.
I tend to agree with them. I think, a good interview, fine. If it passes that one interview, maybe, someone else higher up in the team checks you out, meets with you just to make sure. So you have the first person's weeding people through. Then you go on to a second one. I can't see the point of more than like 2 interviews, to be honest. I wish maybe there was more like of a trial period of, hey, come work with us for a week. We'll pay you. And if it's not a good fit at the end of the week, we'll evaluate it and we'll let you know. Like something like that might be more of use. I don't know.
There are generally 2 terms economists use to describe the state of the job market: tight and loose.
That's what she said. I had to say it. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. All right, we'll move on.
So many companies had to scale back during the pandemic. And then all at once, companies were able to hire again as their businesses started to move. So you had so many job openings happening all at the same time.
Yeah, that was a wild 180. From companies going and furloughing all their workers to 6 months later, hey, come back. And the issue at the time, a lot of employees, and I say this also anecdotally, just from what I've seen, a lot of employees said, why would I come back when I'm getting more money on unemployment than I'm getting working this job? So I could sit home, relax, get $3,600 a month, plus unemployment benefit, all these things. Like, why would I go and work here? So, and I know, unemployment, not supposed to pay people when, they get their job back. But it seemed pretty easy just to claim, no, I don't want to work in those conditions and I'm just going to get paid. So that distorted things. And of course, there's going to be a shortage if there's fewer interest, So
I think what might be going on here is that employers are hesitant to lay off workers. They're hesitant to push workers out. But on the flip side, that also means that a a lot of workers are sitting tight, they're not quitting, they're not being laid off, and so there aren't as many of those opportunities you would normally expect from attrition for folks who are trying to break into those roles.
It's very similar, by the way, to homeowners who are locked in on a mortgage. Just think of it that way. Homeowners don't want to sell because they locked in such a low interest rate. Companies don't want to fire people because they've locked onto these employees who are good employees, and employees don't want to leave because they know how competitive it is if they go. So everyone is just staying put, which means the labor market is, in a way, completely frozen. Good way to think about that.
In 2021, 2022, there were labor shortages. Companies were hiring very aggressively. And so even if 2024 is shaping up to be a relatively healthy labor market, by recent comparison, it doesn't feel quite as strong.
That is a great point. We're comparing it to a very recent time where jobs were plentiful, where companies were doing anything they could just to hire you. And very quickly that changed. I mean, really within 18 months. The entire market did a 180 on this. So that's a good point.
If we see a recession in 2024, the labor market can be somewhat resilient, but it can't fully buck the broader economic trends. It's not a guarantee that the job market is going to remain as strong.
I'm curious what this would do for entrepreneurs. If you can't find a job and you're just up against a wall, does that make you more likely to want to start your own career or do something on your own? I know not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, not everyone likes that sort of lifestyle, but I'm curious if more businesses would start because of frustration of not being able to get hired. I know if I were in that position after 4 months not looking for a job, I would just say, screw this. I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm just going to figure some way that I could earn money on my own, whatever that is, and then try to scale that up. So I'm curious if that's going to be the outcome.
I just encourage you not to give up and still keep diving into your network and stay tight with family and friends, just to give you that confidence that you can do it.
Yeah, overall, I think it's a topic that a lot more people are beginning to talk about now, and especially sharing their frustrations online. As far as my own advice, I'm probably not the person to be giving advice on this. Besides, stick with it or find companies that you want to work for and apply to them. Even if they say they're not hiring anybody, just walk in and say, hey, here's my resume. I'd like to do XYZ for the company. I graduated with this degree. I want to work. Even if you don't have anything open, please keep it in mind and then keep following up on those places. I have a feeling going and applying at places that aren't outwards, looking for a job, posting a job listing, you might have a lot better luck. That's typically what I've done anytime I've wanted to work somewhere. I just go and talk to the people there and then pitch myself. And you get really good at selling yourself. Eventually, you might land yourself a job. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Oh, and also, don't forget, how's this? You could get some free stocks down below in the description with a paid affiliate link when you make a deposit. Those stocks could be worth all the way up to a few $1,000s. So if you're interested, I do get a commission, of course, when you sign up, but you also get some free stocks in the process. So if you guys want those stocks, the link is down below. Thank you so much, and until next time.